December 28th, 2017. Welcome to the Philly Podcast. Now, TV's a little loud. I turned it off. I gotta turn it back on. Sorry about that. Let me turn this back on. The lovely Samsung noise. And it's back on. Okay, so I hope everybody had a good Christmas, a good, Christmas Eve. Got a lot of good gifts, hang out with family a lot, so, very happy, it was a good holiday. Obviously a good holiday if you're if you're obviously probably listening to this as a Philly sports fan. Earlier in the day, Sixers picked up a nice win against the Knicks. Later in the day, the Eagles clinched home field advantage, number one seed throughout the playoffs. On the Monday night primetime game. It wasn't the prettiest. It wasn't the most appealing Eagles win, but a win's a win, and we will get to that in a little bit. And to go with that as well, we'll get into the game in a little bit, but I want to talk about some of these fans that you see around. A lot of these fans that are doubting this team after that performance, which wasn't a great one. On Christmas night, and the offense was bad, and the defense stepped it up, which won them the game against this Oakland team that was not really made of anything this year. Was not, wasn't anything special. But a lot of people are really doubting Nick Foles, and he did not have a good game. We know that. But you look at a couple of the quarterbacks that are are on playoff teams. One of which is in the second seed. And that's Case Keenum, who was only 14 for 25, 130 yards passing. They beat the Packers without Aaron Rodgers in the cold, and it was colder in Lambeau than it was. Obviously, it's always cold in Lambeau in December, and that was 6-7 degrees that night in Lambeau on Saturday night when the Vikings played the Packers. It was only 14 for 25, 139 yards passing, and then in that Vikings win, and the Vikings look great. This is what they are made out to be. After that game, and then you look at the Panthers, who they got a nice big win against a depleted Tampa Bay team that's going to go 4-12. Newton was 16 for 25, 160 160 yards passing. No touchdowns, a pick, and a 22-19 victory against a depleted Tampa Bay Bucks team. And they're playing in a very good division. I think all three of those teams, maybe with the exception of the Saints, are about the same team, kind of on the same skill level. But the Panthers are a good team. I mean, compared to a lot of the other teams in the NFC, I mean, they're a good team, and they barely eked by a bad Tampa Bay team. And then you look at the Vikings, who beat their offense. They only put up 16 points against Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. And if I were a Vikings fan, and then you got Nick Foles. I forgot to mention 19 for 30, 163, a pick, a touchdown, 19-10 win against the Raiders. So you compare all the three of these quarterbacks. Nick Foles threw for more yards than these three players. He had most completions, the most pass attempts for these players, and that's where the coaching comes in, because the coach, I mean, it shows that both the Vikings and the Panthers ran a lot more, obviously, and the Eagles didn't really run a lot. I mean, when they ran the ball, I mean, they scored, and that's probably why. Now, when they ran the ball effectively, which I was trying to say, they scored. You look at the one touchdown drive, which set up the Ajayi touchdown. So that the Eagles ran the ball effectively that whole drive. I mean, I did notice the running game didn't really click in the second half. It felt like, every first down play, they just ran Ajayi the same way, the same type of run, and it got clogged up all the time, and that's where you probably should throw in Clement. But really, I mean, when you say that Nick Foles had a bad week and cannot lead this team, you got to look at what some of these other quarterbacks that are made out to be superstars on teams that are made out to compete for Super Bowls, really referring to the Vikings, teams that, would come in here, and what people are saying that will come in here and beat us in the playoffs, the Panthers and the Vikings, I mean, look at what they did. They didn't do much, and their quarterbacks did not play good football at all. In week 16, Foles was 25th ranked quarterback, Newton 26. Keenum was down in the high 20s, 30s area. So all three of these quarterbacks did not play good football this weekend, and all three of them are obviously on playoff teams. Number one in Foles seed, number two in Keenum, and then Newton's going to be in the wild card, but his team can, I mean, if you throw them in any other division, I mean, they would be a divisional winner probably. If you don't, I mean, with the exception of, with the exception, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but like, they're better than a lot of the majority of these. I mean, they can probably be better than some of these playoff teams. So anyway, I mean, that's kind of something I wanted to bring up with all these people that are bashing Nick Foles. I mean, it's one bad game, and this guy threw for 4 touchdown passes against the Giants, but we all know that they're the Giants, but you should have seen the throws he was making. You should look back at the throws he made. He likes throwing to Ertz. He threw some very good passes in that game to Ertz. He threw that a beautiful touchdown pass, the very first touchdown pass to Jeffrey. It's just a bad game. It was just a bad game. The whole offense felt slow throughout the football game. I mean, it was just like watching, a team that didn't want to go out and play football. And the offense looked, I mean, the whole team looked asleep in the first half. The second half, the defense, I mean, after that second half possession, I don't know what Jim Schwartz did. I don't know what Malcolm Jenkins did, but they had been smacked in the ass. All of them smacked in the face, in the ass, or in the ass somewhere. All across their faces or something like that. And then, the defense just showed up to play in the second half and really came up clutch for this team. And that's why this team is 13-2. If a unit's not playing well, the other unit's there to pick them up. We saw that the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks, as a matter of fact, the Rams, the defense was getting killed. killed. They gave up 35 points. You know what the offense does? They come back and they score. Yeah, we had Wentz. Foles delivered when he was in our unit. Then, against the Giants, it was the same deal. Defense didn't play well. The offense picks them up. And then you get to the game on Monday night. Offense isn't playing well. Defense picks them up. So we know how well both units can be. They just need to put it together. And if they put it together, I'm telling you this right now, this team will definitely win a playoff game. Definitely win a playoff game. I'm not saying Super Bowl yet. We'll deal with that when we get there. If we get there. But I'm not making any broad Super Bowl predictions as of right now. And I've never really had any desire to make any Super Bowl predictions because you just sound dumb when your team's going to win the Super Bowl. Unless if you're anticipating that game. So, that's how I kind of see that. I've not made a Super Bowl prediction. And I will never make a Super Bowl prediction. So, like I said, the offense looked asleep. Both units looked asleep in the first half. The defense, as like I said, they played well. The pass rush on the defensive side of the ball was just absolutely great in the second half. Seeing Chris Long just bounce off the snap. It's just like, who could beat it? It was just like seeing her jump off the ball and then, rambling through that offensive line. It was just great seeing that pass rush, especially in that final possession after we kicked the field goal. It's just like that's what won us the game. That pass rush. That pass rush won us the game. The pass rush, kept us in the game, and that's what saved us. Jalen Mills. That guy, and I'm talking about the secondary now, Jalen Mills is a disgrace. He's a disgrace as of right now. He is getting killed on these double moves. Amari Cooper was left open. Wide open. Open as the... Open. I can't think of anything. Hold on. What are you doing? Get out. Sorry. Sister likes to come in here, but he was left open. And he was listed as questionable going into the game with an ankle. Like, are you kidding me? He put a double move on you and you get absolutely killed. If I were Schwartz, I put Mills on the bench that moment. It's getting to a point now where I just can't take it anymore with him. I can't. The run defense wasn't as great as it's been. People are saying it sucks now. Just because, it was one bad game against a power running back in Lynch on a cold night. I think they'll be fine. They'll get used to it. It wasn't number one material, but it's better than some teams. That's the way I look at that. And that's pretty much where I stand with defense. They won us the game. Definitely a much better performance. But they need to... really, they gave up... if Jalen Mills didn't get killed on the double move, the Eagles gave up 3 points. They gave up 3 points and 5 takeaways. That's a good defensive night. Even with the Jalen Mills blunder, it's still a good defensive performance. Very good defensive performance after what we saw and witnessed the last 3 weeks on the road. So, and that's why home field advantage is going to be big for this team for defense, for the crowd, for the defense, for the cold weather, especially if we defend the run a lot much better and show up as that number one rush defense in the league again. I mean, if we play a team like the Saints, I think we beat them. Because if we stop the running game, which is 90%, which is about the biggest part of their offense, I mean, what's going to happen? They're going to have to throw the ball with Brees. So, we could, I mean, it could pan out real well. It could pan out real well. Now I can see offense, a full analysis of the offense, and Foles was 19 for 38. The whole offense looked slow. The receivers weren't getting open. It was just a bad. It was just a bad performance. I mean, Foles' footwork was absolutely horrendous. Him missing a lot of these receivers. The high throws, trying to think. There's a couple of things. It's just. I mean, the play calls. It was just a complete team effort on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, they just looked asleep the entire game. The entire game, they looked asleep. And it was just very disappointing. I mean, they left a lot of points on the board. They. I mean, that makes sense. They missed opportunities of putting way more points on the board. To be honest with you, if we got the offense from last week, we would have seen a 40-point game. I'm just telling you that right now. It was just a bad night. Now, we've already seen this offense with Nick Foles playing the cold, and that was last week. But the Raiders, I'm going to give the Raiders defense some credit here. I mean, they did do a good job of stacking Ajayi for most of for the second half and, holding up those first down runs. And that's where Peterson has to be a lot better on those first down play calls. And that's why you should really get Clement back there for first down. The guy had 14 yards on 2 carries, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he gets 7 yards a carry against that Raiders team. Why don't you put him in more? I mean, he played. It's working. Stick to it. It gives your offense momentum. I mean, come on. That's where they have to be better. In the play calling, Foles is just going to have to work a little bit, build some more chemistry. If Jeffrey couldn't get anything done yesterday, he was only targeted twice, no catches. He was dealing with double coverage the whole game. He has to try his best to get open. Aguilar, he had 3 or 4 catches in the game, maybe less. Nothing from Matt Collins. Little from Torrey Smith. Zach Ertz, he was really the only reliable target for Nick Foles. But if anything else breaks open, Nick Foles is going to have to throw the ball to somewhere else because teams are going to realize if you're throwing the ball to, I mean, this is not rocket science. Teams are going to realize if you're not throwing the ball, if you're throwing the ball to one guy, they're going to lock him up, and you're just going to have to figure out other guys to throw the football to. I mean, it's just simple. So, that's what this team has to do a lot better job of. I mean, Jeffrey's going to get double covered. They're going to take that weapon out, and they saw what the other teams are going to look at, what the Raiders did against Alshon Jeffrey, and look what's going to happen. I mean, they're going to hold us to 13 points on the offensive side. We have to have more drives like the touchdown. We have to start running the ball. They have to start putting in plays to accommodate their strengths. If you see that the defense is stacking the box when you're running, and you're going to still decide to run the ball on first down and get little or nothing, get away from that. Do an outside run or slant or a quick pass or do something. Get positive gain on first down. Just get positive on first down. Now, here's the deal. Here's another thing that's really been killing us, and that's the holding penalties, the false starts. Putting us in a hole. I mean, first down was a real enemy for this team. It was a real enemy for this team, and that was the big reason why we only converted once on third down in the game. I mean, it's just this team has to be more effective in the early downs. It was probably one of the biggest takeaways and one of the biggest flaws of this team Monday night. I mean, they have to be more effective on first down. The offensive line, no holds, no false starts. Peterson has to make the right play call. This is where he has to work. I mean, he has to watch the film. He has to really, figure out what he wants to do in this game plan. For this weekend against the Cowboys. And to be honest with you guys, this weekend I would not rest the starters. I mean, you cannot afford to rest the starters. You can't. Look at what happened with the Cowboys last week. Last year, I should say. The Cowboys last year rested their starters against the Eagles. They had Dak play a series. They didn't play Zeke at all. They lost momentum, and they lost to a Green Bay team with Aaron Rodgers. If I'm not mistaken, he was on a bad leg. I mean, that Green Bay team, it killed the Cowboys' momentum. That Week 17 game, get a week off, and then they go play Green Bay, who is just absolutely hot, and they lose. So I don't want the same thing to happen to us. We have to play the starters. To be honest with you guys, I want to sweep this division. I want to sweep the Cowboys. This is a play. I mean, for me, this is a playoff game. I mean, this is our second playoff game. Our first playoff game was against, you could probably say, against the Giants, where we had to clinch. Well, really against the Rams. When we won the division. Second playoff game was against the Giants, clinched the first round bye. Third playoff game against the Raiders Monday night, get the number 1 overall seed. The fourth playoff game is this weekend. Take care of and sweep the division. Build momentum for the playoffs. And, I think, we'll be all right if they come out and they really play well. I think it's a great test for the defense to, be able to stop the run. You're getting a quality back to play against this week in Zeke. You're playing a Cowboys team that's, decent, but, who knows? I mean, they could be resting their starters, trying to get some of their backups in to get a higher draft pick. Who knows? Who knows what they could be? What's up their sleeve? So yeah. So that's my little spiel on the Eagles. We'll get into the bowls, the bowl games right now. The playoff is Monday night with the New Year's bowl games. Monday is New Year's Day. Bowl games are back on New Year's Eve this year, or New Year's Day this year. They would always be on New Year's Eve, and they would they play the one game in the afternoon, one game at night. I think this is the first time in since the first year of the playoff they're playing this on New Year's Day, if I'm not mistaken. But to be honest with you, I really like the playoff matchups this year. I mean, I really do. To get the Bama-Clemson game early, and then you got the Oklahoma Sooners, and then what I'm trying to say here is to get Bama-Clemson in that first week. I think that's better. I want to see that game. I want to see that game play out. That way you really only have one of those teams in the national championship game. So as opposed to having both of them playing the national championship. So there's not going to be a third straight year of Bama versus Clemson. But they're going to be. Bama's just going to be. I think Bama's. I think we're probably gonna. To be honest, with you guys, I think we're probably gonna have an SEC national championship game this year. Georgia versus Alabama. To be honest with you, they're pissed off about the Auburn game. They're going to want to come out there and beat another. I guess you could probably consider Clemson a rival for Alabama, given the fact that they met up the last couple years in the big game. Clemson. With Deshaun Watson. They've had a good year. They've had a very good season. Are they undefeated? Are they undefeated? I can't remember if they're undefeated or not. Let's see. They did win the ACC. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I know they lost to Syracuse. Yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember. That was the Friday night game, which is it's kind of been a hard for away teams to win, and they were going to Syracuse. So Clemson, they're a one-loss team. Bama's a one-loss team. Bama obviously lost to a quality opponent on the road. Home field advantage killed both these teams. Obviously, being a road team, playing on the road. So as we all know, that Jordan-Hare was a very tough place to play this season. That's what kind of killed Bama in the Iron Bowl. So they'll be playing Clemson, and I think Bama's just gonna throw the kitchen sink at them. I think they're gonna be running the ball with Scarborough. Jalen Hurts is gonna do his thing. They are going to beat Clemson. It's gonna be a very close game, but they are going to beat Clemson in this matchup. I think they're going to beat them definitely by possession. I think it's a field goal victory, a last-second field goal victory for the Tide, and they are just. Dabo Swinney is a very good coach. You got two of the best coaches in the game. But I really like that this is the semifinal matchup. That way you're not really bored. It's not like the NBA where the two of the teams both teams that are going to be in the championship. This is, I like that this is the semifinal. And then you got the other game, and I think this is the game I'm definitely going to watch: the Rose Bowl, Georgia, Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield, the Heisman winner, had a very good season. He is he makes plays. The guy makes plays. We all know that. Mobile. Like most college quarterbacks, he's mobile. He can move. He can run. The guy's been there forever. He knows the system. He knows what to expect out of the opponents. But he's playing a Georgia team that I think is very well coached. Have their running backs are absolute monsters. They are beasts. They are power runners. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and the kid out of St. Joseph's Prep, DeAndre Swift, who I've seen a few times in high school, and he's just a monster. But they've been using all three of their backs, and that's been a real big part of their offense. Jake Fromm going into the season was beat out of the starting quarterback role by Jacob Eason. Gets hurt in the very first game. Fromm steps up. He wins out, except for that one blemish at Auburn. He was really, he's really been a very good quarterback. He's a freshman quarterback, very used to the big game. He played, I remember watching the Notre Dame game when they played them. in week 2. I mean, he really looked very poised, although that game was really a defensive battle. There was a whole documentary about him. I think it was called Signing Day or something like that. And he was a very top recruit out of Georgia, very good quarterback. And he has, led the Dogs to win 12 games and the SEC championship this season, and led them into the college football playoff. So, I think Georgia's a much better rounded team than Oklahoma. I mean, Georgia. I mean, they have the offense, they have the quarterback, they have the power running, they have their defense is very good. They have a defensive coach that was led by Saban, was on the Alabama coaching staff. So, this is their first playoff. That's a passionate fan base down in Athens. I mean, this is a team that I just want to see win. I mean, I really respect the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, I think they are a very good football team. I mean, they've played very good football, dominant football, all year round. Oh, well, this year, not all year round. What am I saying? Oh my God, this has been a long break. But anyway, but they've been a great team this season. So I mean, they did play a little bit of a cupcake schedule. I will not, dodge that. But they beat Auburn, they beat Notre Dame, they beat they blew out Mississippi State. They're a good team. They are a good team. They beat Auburn pretty good, by the way. They beat Auburn pretty good in the SEC championship. So, they are a good team. They beat every team on their schedule. They lost to the one team at Auburn in Jordan-Hare, but, that was proven to be a very tough place to play. And that was a distinct home field advantage. But Georgia ended up getting, really proving how much better they are than the Tigers in a neutral site in the SEC championship game. So, watching Navy and Virginia, Navy's just like pounding them. And talk about a home field advantage. They are playing the bowl game in their own stadium, the Military Bowl. That is in their own stadium, and they're running that whole option. So, and they're wearing the same uniforms that they wore in against Army. So, So by analyzing those games, I'm definitely going to pick a Bama Dogs national championship game. It's going to be a very cool game to watch. Seeing both those teams match up, and that's what the game I hope for. Clemson, who knows? Maybe we see them. I think this is going to be the best playoff yet. I think this is going to be the best playoff that we're going to get. Two SEC teams, a Big 12 team, the ACC team. It's going to be very interesting not seeing two common opponents in the championship game. Instead, both those teams are going to be playing in the semifinal. So it's going to be very interesting to see the playoff play out this year. And the national championship. So we'll see how that goes, as I like to say. So, yeah. And then we're going to talk about the New Year's Six, which includes, if you want to consider them a local team, Penn State and Washington. Tomorrow night, you got the Cotton Bowl with USC and Ohio State. Ohio State, winning. They got the Penn State treatment last year or this year, winning 2 games, winning the conference, but not getting into the top 4. Instead, they'll be playing in a very good bowl game. They're number 5 team in the country. USC, a team that Notre Dame blew out. Can't find my pen. I can't find my pen when I talk, but anyway, USC is a team that Notre Dame blew out probably one of the best Notre Dame football games I've seen. And after that, USC just lay down the law. We're not going to lose any more games. They go on to win the Pac-12. Playing very good football as the season, as they moved on in their season. They're going to be playing a good game against Ohio State. Darnold has really proven to be the quarterback in these last few games. He has played like people thought he would have played in the beginning of the season. And, so, I mean, that's going to be a very interesting game to watch. I'm going to pick Ohio State. I mean, they're just a better team, and they know what this is all about. They're a big game team. I know USC won the Rose Bowl last year, but I mean, Ohio State, I mean, it's just, they're the Buckeyes. I mean, I have a good feeling that they'll win. I mean, JT Barrett, Urban Meyer, I mean, they'll probably win this game. It'll be a close game, but I'm going to pick Ohio State. Then you have, obviously, Penn State and Washington. Penn State, I mean, they kind of play, they really, they had two good games, two big games that they played this season against Michigan State and Ohio State. Both were losses, both were close losses. And Penn State, I mean, they played a cupcake schedule. That's probably one, I mean, cupcake in my standards. I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I mean, we play, we got rivals every week. We get, ranked teams come in. We had a very good, strong schedule this year. But for Penn State, I mean, they only had like two good games. Two ranked games. On the road, and they lost both of them very close. But I think they have this game. I really do. I mean, Washington has not impressed me this season. I thought they would be a very good team after what happened last year with Jake Browning. A very good, with the return of him. I thought Washington was probably going to be winning the Pac-12 again, but they didn't. So I'm going to be picking Penn State in this game, which is very rare. Well, not very rare, but but Penn State's lucky. I mean, they got a good matchup. They got a good matchup. All right, let's see. Peach Bowl, which is going to be Monday. UCF and Auburn. UCF, that team's just been crazy. Them winning some very good. I mean, I know they ran through a very weak American Conference, but a lot of people can't. I mean, they're going to be motivated to come to this game, and I think that they can probably knock off Auburn. In the Peach Bowl, I mean, Auburn, away from Jordan Hare. I mean, they lost. I'm not looking at numbers here, but I know they lost to Clemson. I know they lost to Georgia in the SEC championship. I mean, I think UCF is going to play with this team. If not win. I mean, this is going to be a very cool game to watch. 12:30 on New Year's Day. That's going to be a very cool game to flick on New Year's Day before all the playoff drama starts. And then on Saturday, you have the Orange Bowl, Miami against Wisconsin. Miami just got. Talk about another team that plays good at home in the prime time. They're a prime time home team. I mean, you saw what they did in prime time at home. I mean, they whipped us in their stadium. Notre Dame 41-8. That was just probably one of the most brutal nights of my life. They whipped Virginia Tech, but when Pitt beat them and Clemson beat them, I mean, they're just going to decay. And I think Wisconsin has them. Wisconsin, they were trying to, get to the playoff. I mean, they would have gotten into the playoff most likely if, they won the Big Ten, but Ohio State took care of them. So, that team would have been into the playoff, but they lost to Ohio State. So, but they'll be playing. They'll be beating Miami. I think they'll probably beat them by 10 points in this game. So, yeah. What else do we have going on as I'm looking at my sheet? I'm going to make a Sixers point. I'm going to be talking about a couple of the NFL head coaching vacancies, or not vacancies. There's nothing really announced yet. But there's going to be a lot of changes within NFL teams come Monday, and we'll be getting to the Week 17 picks. I know it's Week 17, but you got some games that are pretty important this weekend. So yeah. So the Sixers, they released, and I wanted to bring this up. They released the city uniforms yesterday or the other day. I don't remember, but anyway, these uniforms are actually pretty nice. There was a picture. Ben Simmons was on the release cover, I guess you could call it. That was like in front of Independence Hall, and these uniforms are really nice. I mean, a lot of people like them. They have filler on them. That's like white. I mean, these are nice. That's, what is it, the Pride of 76 uniforms or something like that? 76ers uniforms. Yeah, the City Edition uniforms. I mean, look at them. I mean, they're just clean. I mean, it's pretty much the home uniform, but they're nice. They're really nice. I mean, I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, they're just cool uniforms. I mean, I like how the Sixers, use like the city name. I like how they put Philly on the uniforms. You really don't see that with Philly teams. I mean, it's more like, you see a lot of baseball teams put the city name on their away uniforms. The Phillies don't do that. A lot of NFL teams use their city, their city letters or something like that within their logo, as you see with the 49ers and the Giants and the Jets and who else does that? The Packers, Eagles, it's just a swoop head. Flyers, it's just that flyer thing. Sixers, they're using they're using the city name. So I've really for the longest time wanted to see the Phillies put Philadelphia on the road uniforms, but it's nice to see the Sixers do that. Put Phil on the uniforms. I really appreciate that. I've always liked that. So, and speaking of this team, the Sixers team, they did win a very good game. They did win a very good game. I was just repeating myself on Christmas against the Knicks. Embiid played well. Simmons played well. McConnell had a great game. So, they're hopefully things are trending in the right direction for them. They got a game tonight, 10:30 against Portland. So we'll see what happens. I think it's a primetime game. It's on TNT. It's a late game, 10:30. So, we'll see where that goes. But hopefully, they can build off this a little bit. They're two spots out of a playoff spot. So we'll see. Hopefully, things are trending in the right direction for the Sixers team. I'm not really a big basketball guy. I've been watching the Sixers. But this team, hopefully they can build off this and they can really move up in the standings. And then we'll get to the NFL picks. 17. Final week of the season, very quick. I mean, the NFL season, the college football season, I mean, they just go fast. I mean, they're fast. They're only, I mean, the college football season, including the conference championship games, is 13 weeks. The NFL season obviously is 17 weeks, and then you want to throw in the playoffs, which are 4 weeks. So 21 weeks of football, of NFL football. So let's get going with these picks. All right, Packers, Lions. I mean, who cares about that game? But I mean, those are a lot of meaningless games, but who cares? Let's pick them. Packers, Lions. I'm going to pick Detroit. Got the Vikings. They're going to be going for their second seed in the first round bye. Texans, Colts. I got the Texans. Browns, Steelers. I got the Steelers. Maybe the Browns get their first win, but who would want to lose to the Browns? I mean, they're just shit. Jets, Patriots, no days off, Patriots. Redskins, Giants. I got the Redskins. Cowboys, Eagles. I got the Eagles. We're just doing the Eagles pick. Jaguars, Titans. I got the Jags. Bengals, Ravens. I got the Ravens. They're gonna be going for a playoff spot. Dolphins, Bills. I got the Bills. Raiders, Chargers. I got the Raiders. Seahawks, Cardinals. I got the Seahawks. They're gonna be playing for a playoff spot. 49ers, Rams. I got the Rams. They're gonna be. I mean, they're resting. I actually picked the 49ers in that game. Rams are resting Gurley and Aaron Donald. I got the Chiefs. Bucks. I got the Saints. And then the big game, Panthers, Falcons. I'm gonna pick Atlanta. If they win, they'll get the second wild card. So So because Carolina has the first, and then you have New Orleans that won that division. But I mean, that team will supply 3 playoff teams this year. So so it happened with the NFC East last year, but didn't. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Have a good weekend. That's gonna be it, and I'll see you guys later. So.